Hi, everybody. Alan Arnett here with another podcast on the blog on alanarnett.com. It is Sunday, April 19th, and that means it's time for the Everest 2026 weekend update. Well, let's just cut to the chase. Not a lot of updates coming from Everest, but a lot of updates coming from all the other mountains. Over on the three other major 8,000 meter mountains that are typically climbed this time of year, we've got Annapurna 1, Dhaulagiri, and Makalu. And we've had summits on all three of those over the weekend. They were primarily from the Nepali companies, 14 peaks, 7 summits treks, Elite, Pioneer, Imagine Nepal. They all put people on the top. And they all had anywhere from 10 to 20 between the Sherpas and the clients for each one of those. So overall, we probably had somewhere around, I don't know, between 60 and 80 people summit those three mountains here over the last several days. So congratulations to every one of them. It took a lot of patience this year because the ropes got to the summit early on a couple of these peaks, but then a big snowstorm came in and locked everybody down for 2 weeks, and so they really had to bide their time. Some people gave up and went on to back to Kathmandu because they were going to be doing Everest and Lhotse afterwards. Other ones stayed at base camp, but in any way, it really does show that patience is required to climb these big old mountains. The other thing that's going on is that the icefall doctors are just having a heck of a time trying to get the route in. And it's not the typical problem of trying to find the route. The problem this year is that there's a giant hanging serac over on the left, to the climber's left on Everest's west shoulder. And the icefall doctors, rightfully so, are extremely concerned that that thing is going to fall and they're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they have every right to be concerned about this. Uh, in 2014, something similar happened, and that's when 14 Sherpas were killed when the ice fall when that Serac fell. And Madison Mountaineering, they were there in the autumn of 2019, a rare autumn trip, and Garrett and team, they saw the same thing. This giant, it looked like a supersized phone booth. I don't even know if that's current reference anymore, phone booth. But nonetheless, it was just hanging there, and they were absolutely petrified that it was going to fall. And collectively, the team made the decision to just abandon the entire expedition, and nobody summited that year. There were only about 3 teams there. Almost nobody climbs Everest in the autumn, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon because the weather is typically, much better than it is in the spring, at least for a short time. The main issue, though, is that all the guides, they are using their resources on Choyu and on Manaslu. So that's why they put all their people on Everest in the spring, and then they shifted over to the other two mountains in the autumn. Let's see. So right now, the iceball doctors, I understand they went up today, Sunday. We'll see if we get a report overnight if they were able to get to Camp 1 or not. And I'm not even sure how far they've gotten into the icefall or up the icefall at this point. I do know that they're using drones to do scouting to be able to find the route, because last year they had a couple of dead ends that had them turn around, which is not unusual. So the use of drones last year kind of helped them out, and they were going to expand that use this year. So, I get a question from one of my listeners, thank you very much, that said, how she read that the drones were replacing the icefall doctors. Now they're just aiding the icefall doctors. The icefall doctors will still, be putting in the ladders. They'll be putting in the fixed rope, and attaching it to the icefall and doing the physical work. But the drones will be carrying a lot of the gear, the ladders, the ropes, the ice screws, and all the other gear that's needed to fix the route. And it's only going to go to Camp 1. It may go to Camp 2. I could be surprised this year, but we'll kind of watch and see what happens. Let's see. And the other big thing going on this week that made quite a bit of news is our good buddy Ryan Mitchell. Ryan Mitchell and Justin Sackett, they went back down to Kathmandu waiting for the icefall to get fixed. They were down there about a week. They came back, and Ryan, unfortunately, got sick the night he came back. And so he evacuated down to Lukla, where a high altitude doctor, specialist, diagnosed him with high altitude pulmonary edema. That's when you start to develop fluid in your lungs. And wisely, he went back to Kathmandu, and he's currently in transit to come back home. So Ryan's no opportunity on Everest and Lhotse is over. And Justin is going to stay, and he's still going to attempt it. So all the links that I put up the first time, they're still valid for both of them. And I think Ryan will be making some YouTube videos and some more details later on this week. So, I'm really proud of Ryan. He made the right decision not to keep on going. I've had pulmonary edema. I got it on K2, and I think most of you know that story. I just finished a chapter in an autobiography that I'm writing that goes through that in detail. And I got to tell you, it was an emotional experience writing that, reliving that, because when you can't breathe while climbing a mountain, it kind of makes it more difficult than just climbing a mountain on its own. But I cover it in the book, and hopefully it'll be coming out later on this year. Let's see. There's a couple of other people climbing without O's this year. Another Summit Coach client, Reed Towston. He's with Madison Mountaineering. Last year, Reed summited with Alpenglow from the Tibet side. He was going to do it again this year without oxygen, supplemental oxygen from the Tibet side, but of course it got closed. And so, and Alpenglow only guides on the Tibetan side. So he switched over to Madison Mountaineering, and he's going to be almost like a private climb with Terry Sylvester, one of the best guides in the industry. That's been Garrett's lead guide for a number of years. He's been climbing on K2 and Everest and other 8,000-meter mountains for quite a while. So he's in really good hands. Reed also told me that he went in and got his VO2 max checked, and he came back in the 99th percentile for his age. Wow. So what that tells me is that the coaching plan and everything else that he had has been working magnificently. So good luck to Reed. A couple of other people we've talked about in the past, Carl Egloff and Tyler Andrews. They're back for a fastest known time, FKT. I know I got in trouble last time for misspelling known, but they're going to be attempting a no-O's FKT on Everest, obviously on the Nepal side. Kristen Harla, she's also going to be doing a no-O climb, but this time she wants to do Nuptse, Lhotse, and Everest, all without O's. And then there's a couple of other people whose name there's no way I can pronounce. Salis Damalufviks from Lithuania, and Marcelo Segovia from Ecuador. They're both going to be trying to do some no-O's attempts as well. So best of luck to all of these people. Trying to do a no-O's climb on Everest is really hard. Only about 3% of the 14,000 summits have been completed without supplemental oxygen. And as we've talked about before, the death rates are significantly higher. So it's a risky operation, without a doubt. Hey, last week I talked about as we wrap up the news, because there really is not a lot of news coming out right now, especially on Everest, obviously, as the teams continue to migrate to base camp or pre-acclimatize on Lobuche East or Isla Nirmira. But I talked last week about why Everest has such a bad reputation. And I got some really nice comments from people. A couple were incredibly rude, and I told you I wasn't going to delete them, but I did delete them because, I'm not going to support rude. But this time I want to spend just a few more minutes as I wrap this one up, because it's going to be a short one. But I want to talk about, why do people even want to go climb Everest? And that's a question, that infamous story of George Mallory when he was asked why, when he was in the U.S. on a tour, a press tour, he flippantly said because it's there. And that's never been proven that whether he was serious or that was just he was fed up with the press and gave him a get out of here answer. But, through my Summit Coach business, I've been coaching people now since 2016. Hundreds and hundreds of people. I've got 6 people on Everest right now. And the very first thing that I ask anybody, if they want to climb a Colorado 14er, Mont Blanc, a Rainier, or an Everest, or a K2, we spend probably 20 minutes talking about why, because I think why is really important. And the reason I think it's important is because I like running in a marathon, mile 23. When you hit that wall, you have got to know why you are there on a big mountain like Everest, because it is just too easy to say, this is too hard, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go home. And if you know what your why is, at least you'll stop, you'll think about why you're there, and maybe you'll take another step and still turn around, which is fine. But the point is that you don't want to make an emotional decision in a moment where things are not going as well as you want them to go. So you think about your why, and you may get energy from that you never knew that existed. I know that happened to me on K2, that I hit a wall, and but I knew what my why was, and my why was raising money for Alzheimer's research and honoring my mother, Ida. So, but the people who talk to me about their why, it ranges all the way from, and I jokingly say that they say, Alan, is none of your business, to I want to write a book and have a movie made about me and go on the speaking circuit and get rich and famous, which good luck with that. But most people, they have a very personal reason as to why they want to go climb this mountain. And I always tell people that the why is unique and personal to them, and they don't need to justify it to anybody. They don't need to explain it to anybody. What they need to do is to understand it themselves so that when they do hit the wall, that they can draw strength from that why and keep going or make an informed decision about turning around. People tell me that it's a childhood dream, that they saw a documentary or they read Into Thin Air, or that, they saw an outside magazine with Everest on the cover, or a National Geographic, and they just read it from cover to cover and just became really obsessed or very interested in climbing it. And so now they've reached a point in their life where they've got there's three things that you need to go climb Everest: time, money, and health. Typically, people have two of the three. But when you have all three, that's the magic combination which allows you to go and earn the right to climb the mountain. I'm a big believer in earning the right and being as self-sufficient as possible. I strongly discourage people without any experience from even thinking about Everest before they do other mountains like a Rainier or a Orizaba or the Ecuador volcanoes. Ideally, Aconcagua, 7,000 meter mountain, and ideally an 8,000 meter mountain like a Choyolyu or a Manaslu. There is a continuum to earn the right to go. You just can't get off the couch and go over and climb the mountain. I promise you, you may summit. I mean, I won't say you won't, but you might not have a positive experience, and you may suffer more than you're going to suffer anyway. But the why is very, very, very interesting. Some people will say they want to do it to honor, someone like I did with my mom. Other people want to do it to inspire their children. Other people have their own personal reasons. So when you talk to somebody who climbed Everest, ask them why. Show that curiosity, and then just listen to what they have to say. You might be surprised at what some of the reasons are when you talk to an Everest climber, whether they summited or not. That's almost beside the point. Well, anyway, that's it for this week. Again, a short one because there's not a lot of news. We hopefully next week we'll see the route get up to Camp 2, and that'll open it up for all the teams and their Sherpas to go beginning stocking Camp 1 and 2. Hopefully they can now get to Camp 2 and start fixing the route up the Lhotse face. The season is a long season, but it is April 19th. And again, it's about 4 weeks from now when traditionally we see the most summits somewhere between May 18th to 22nd. So they've got to get there and get their acclimatization rotations in. I think the good news, though, is that even though it's a little bit later this year, the fact that most teams are doing the pre-acclimatization on the trekking peaks, or they're using hypoxia tents and acclimatizing at home. So it's a little different model than it has been in the previous years. Let's say back in 2010, go back pretty far, when they would go and do 5, 6 rotations on the mountain, spend the night at Camp 3. Most teams don't do that anymore. They simply get there. They might go up and spend a few nights at Camp 2, tag 7,000 meters, and call it good because they're starting to use supplemental oxygen from Camp 2. So it's a different model these days. That makes the expeditions shorter, or some people will argue that it's environmentally better. Some people say it's safer because you're spending less time on the mountain. And there's merit to all those arguments. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening as always. Climb on. This is Alan, and remember, memories are everything.
The podcast on AlanArnett.com is sponsored by Summit Coach, helping aspiring climbers worldwide to reach their dreams.